Okay, move on to item 6C, Fisheries Division on Aquatic Invasive Species AIS Program. Wildlife Staff Biologist Karen Vargas. An update on the AIS program will be provided to the Commission, including upcoming proposed Commission regulations. Karen?
For the record, Karen Vargas with Nevada Department of Wildlife. And what I'm going to be doing today is giving you an update on the program, where it's at. It's a relatively new program at NDOW, and where we're at, species that are threatening the state, and the regulatory process and where it's at. If I can get this on there. We have quite a few species that we currently have in the state that are threatening. And, you know, can we dim the lights or a little bit? Mark, we dim the lights or something?
Okay.
Can you?
Up in the corner behind. Behind you, Scott, there's a light switch.
Flip that left one there. Yeah.
The AIS program, Aquatic Invasive Species Program, includes aquatic plants and also includes quite a few animals, mostly fish. This is a photograph of Cummins Lake, where northern pike have been intentionally introduced, not by NDOW, but by fishermen who decided that northern pike would be nice to catch. And since that time, Cummins Lake, the whole fishery, we have lost the whole trout fishery there. The northern pike have taken over. Some other organisms that we don't have in the state at this point but are threatening the state are silver carp. You'll see videos of these jumping out of the water. When boats go through with their motor running, the fish jump out into the boats. These fish get very, very large. They are threatening the Mississippi drainage right now. And of course, you know about zebra mussels. Snakehead's another one that's threatening various states around the nation. Some species we do already have, AIS species we already have, is Dynamo. This is getting transported primarily by waders, fishermen with waders that are contaminated who aren't cleaning their waders properly. Eurasian milfold, which is all up and around Tahoe, Asian clams, which Tahoe again, the Truckee River, New Zealand mud snails at Lake Mead and the Snake River Basin. And of course, our largest threat right now is quagga mussels. And they are present at Lake Mead and Mojave and the whole lower Colorado River system. Recently, in April of 2011, 6 samples tested positive at Lahontan and Rye Patch reservoirs. Since that time, it has been monitored monthly, and those results have been negative. But that is not to say that they aren't there. It's typical. It takes sometimes 3 or 4 years for an infestation to occur. Sometimes those infestations do not occur. At this point, we don't know, but we continue monitoring for those. The source of quagga mussels is primarily from contaminated watercraft. This is a slide showing Lake Mead and distribution of watercraft, and as it's getting traveled and where people are going basically with their watercraft. And that's how it's getting spread across the nation. Of course, it started out in the Great Lakes region. Lake Mead was infected, and now we have positive results at Lahontan and Rye Patch Reservoir. The program's trying to prevent the spread of these, and trailered watercraft, of course, are the biggest culprit right now. Here's showing a distribution of zebra mussels, which we do not have. The red are zebra mussels. The green are quagga mussels. And as you can see, we have very few zebra mussels. California has 1 infestation in the Central Valley. that lake has been isolated. No watercraft is allowed in or out of it at this point. But quagga mussels are making their spread. The northwestern states have none at this point, and they are very adamant that they do not want them in their states. So what NDOW's doing and other organizations is prevention efforts. One of the things we do is we monitor. This is seasonal monitoring, usually occurring in late spring through the summer and early fall. Places where NDOW is monitoring is Wild Horse Reservoir, which of course drains into the Snake River Basin and then the Columbia River Basin. If Wild Horse Reservoir were to be infected with quagga mussels, we're impacting the whole Columbia River Basin because they of course drift downstream. I don't think we want to be responsible for that. As you can see, NDOW monitors quite a few reservoirs around the lake, around the state. Bureau of Reclamation also monitors Rye Patch, Lahontan, Pyramid Lake, Lake Mead, Boca, Stampede. I included those because they are regional. TRPA monitors Lake Tahoe, and Nevada State Parks did set up substrate monitoring out at Lahontan Reservoir, where they put PVC pipe in the water to see if quagga mussels will attach to it. So far, those results have been negative. One of the things this program's trying to do is outreach and education, and that's primarily the clean, drain, and dry message. We can prevent the spread of quagga mussels and a lot of AIS species if everybody just clean, dries, and drains their watercraft, their whatever, their canoes, everything, their fishing gear, their waders. One of the things NDOW did in this last year is we started up the Northern Nevada Quagga Task Force. This is a regional approach, and it includes about 20 different agencies that, UNR's involved, TRPA's involved, federal agencies, and the approach, the reason we are doing that is to prioritize and also to provide a uniform message to the public, and that uniform message is to clean, drain, and dry. And you're going to be hearing a lot more about that. We're working very closely with our counterparts to get this message out. It's really simple. You pull the plug on your boat, you let it sit for 5 to 7 days when it's hot outside, and it will kill quagga mussels. You don't do that, and if you have adults or villagers, which are the larval stage, in your ballast tank or something like that, you go to another lake, you've just infected that lake. So it's a very serious issue, and of course it has huge economic implications for agriculture and for our water supply systems. Okay, right, as I'm sure all of you are aware, the state legislature passed last spring the Aquatic Invasive Species Bill. It was signed by the governor. What it basically did is it gave NDOW authority, or who NDOW approves, authority to do watercraft inspections, authority to decontaminate a vessel leaving an impaired body of water, and before they enter into another body of water within the state. It provides penalties for knowingly introducing AIS into Nevada waters. An example of that would be the introduction of northern pike, where somebody just feels like they want to fish for northern pike and they intentionally introduce it. It provides also for a sticker fee, which I'll talk about in a minute, for motorized and non-motorized watercraft in the state. The vessel decontamination requirements that will be approaching the commission in June, hopefully. The regulatory compliance part of this will include the clean, dry, and drain message in much more detail. These regulations right now are at LCB being reviewed, and we'll be bringing them to the commission in June, hopefully. Also included in that regulatory aspect is the fee structure, which is being proposed. And it's an annual fee. We're hoping to implement this in January 2013. And basically, residents, non-motorized watercraft will be charged $5. That includes canoes, kayaks, things like that. Non-residents, watercraft will be charged $10, non-motorized again. Motorized watercraft, $10 a year. And non-motorized watercraft, $20 a year. Now, these funds will be used to support the program. If we get an infestation of something, it won't even be close to enough money to eradicate anything, but we can do educational outreach and provide some inspection programs with those funds. We will be as I said, we will be bringing it to the commission hopefully in June 2012. And that sticker fee, January 2013. What we're doing right now at the program is, and this is without the sticker fee being implemented at this time, we are trying to set up inspection programs and decontamination stations at Lahontan and Rye Patch Reservoir and Wild Horse Reservoir. Once again, these are all priorities that the Northern Nevada Quagga Task Force identified priority areas. It's to limit the spread of villagers or quagga mussels throughout the state, and also other AIS aspects. We're submitting a grant to U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to help pay for this. We are having difficulty coming up with a match to implement the program for this summer. Hopefully, we're hoping by midsummer we'll have a limited program established at all 3 of those reservoirs and full implementation of those inspection decontamination stations by 2013. We will not be charging. At this point, we have no intention of charging for decontaminations or anything else. It's mostly an outreach educational program. And that's all I have. If anybody has any questions. At least you got to look at pictures.
Any commissioners have a question for Karen?
I got a couple.
Okay.
How big these things get?
Oh, I should have brought you an example. The quagga mussels, they about that thumbnail size, but they stack on top of each other and they wipe out the whole.
And obviously, we're looking for some kind of predator for them, right?
Currently, there's no predator that can keep them from, basically taking over a lake or anything like that. Some birds will eat them, but there's not a predator that's in enough abundance to take these. Because they're aquatic invasive species tend to acclimate to almost any environmental conditions, or they can acclimate a lot, and they multiply very, very rapidly. One quagga mussel will have over 1,000 eggs per year. Just one. Lake Mead's completely infested. I don't know if you've seen pictures of that, but they're all over the boats. They get over everything. It takes a while for them to get that big. Within a few months you can see them on a boat. But before that, you have the larval form, and that you can't see. And if that's in the water, and it's in your ballast tank or something like that in a boat, and they can live for several days, even the villagers in the ballast tank, or weeks even. And you go to another lake and you drain, you turn your pump on in your boat, you're going to push those right into another water body. Now, the adults you can see, but you still have to get them all off, and it takes they can live outside of water for at least a week. They're horrible. They're absolutely horrible, and they multiply and they stack on top of one another. And what's happened in the Great Lakes region is the shells have gone up on the beach, and they cut people's feet up and things like that when they're walking around on the beach. There's so many of them. And that's what tends to make aquatic invasive species so horrible, is they multiply rapidly and they basically take over, and there's no predators for them. That's why you have to prevent them. It's a lot cheaper to prevent them from spreading and introducing them than to try to get rid of them. I mean, if they get in the Columbia River Basin, all those hydroelectric plants. I mean, Lake Mead is spending millions of dollars at Hoover Dam right now. They have to go in and scrape the quagga mussels off of all the pipes and things like that. Because they'll just close up a pipe. That's why it's so detrimental to the agricultural industry also, to keep these critters out.
Okay, Commissioner McNinch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, we've got a nice audience here. It's not very often we get a lot of people in the room. Obviously, we're here largely for bears and trapping, I suspect. But you know, we've got a state-of-the-art fish hatchery. It costs $16 million. Is that how much it cost? It's been shut down for a lot of years. So we talk about the impact. This is just one thing that the agency deals with. I mean, there's so many things that this agency is dealing with in response to its constituents and its customers, and it's going to cost tons and tons of money and tons of resources and tons of time to get that fish hatchery back online. Never mind operate it in a different way, a way that it was never designed to do, and it puts strain on other hatcheries. I guess my point is that, you know, we've got a nice new audience, and I think it's important for everybody to understand that there are so many issues that this agency deals with. You touched on wild horses just a little bit, but this is a big one. This is a big one. It's not a function of preventing them in some cases. It's a function of how are we gonna deal with them now that they're here, because they're here in Lake Mead, talking about lowering the intakes for the water and tapping into that. And what was the latest quote was $3 million to tap into that, or some construction cost?
About 7.
7, okay. Never mind all the agreements that you have to go through and all the negotiations that you have to go through with the companies that are that have the intakes, and it's a big deal. It's a huge deal, and it's just one of many, many, many things that this agency deals with. And I'm hoping that we get some new energy into these things and see if there's ways that we can deal with stuff like this.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you're on our team.
Okay, any other commissioners with a question for Karen? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much, Karen, for the report. Okay, what my plan is, I'm gonna move on to item 6.